Hello everybody, welcome to video blog number 9. So there's been a 3-week break since the last race in Shanghai until the next race in Barcelona. So I thought it'd be a chance for me to talk a little bit about Racemate Live. Chance for you guys to hear about what I take away from that. I think for you guys who've been following the show on Fox Sports, that we often refer to Racemate Live. Now, what exactly does that mean? I mean, we watch the Formula 1 race on TV. Why do we need to have something on the internet to watch as well? Well, it really just gives us more supplementary information about what's going on with the race so that we can follow it and learn more about what's happening. And if you are a particular fan of a team or a driver, quite often that driver or team doesn't get onto the cameras all the time, and you can follow them specifically on the internet with Racemate Live. Now, so let me talk a little bit about it and about what I use it for when I follow the races. First of all, there's a pit lane channel. I'm going to show a print up here. Let me put it up to the thing. You can't really see much, but what you can see from there is that when you do hear pit lane radio, you do get bits and pieces from the driver that the TV doesn't actually carry. It doesn't carry all of it. Carries some, but not all. And more importantly, you can get bits and pieces of information about the team personnel. Which engineer works for which driver, and so on and so forth, team principal. And also you get people who can tweet and Facebook. Their little bits and pieces also come up on the side as well, which is quite interesting. Now, the other thing which I use, well, actually there's another thing that's used quite often, which I don't use it too much, but it's useful if you want to follow a specific driver or team, which is the GPS position map. So as the drivers go around the track, there's a little map and you can see where your driver is in relation to everyone else. And actually in the races when people are starting to get lapped a lot, it can get a little bit confusing, and that's quite useful to see what's going on. Now the other thing I use a lot, which is the timing screen. Now the timing screen is interesting. It looks a little bit like this. Now you see the timing screen there. Now quite often in our commentary we talk about drivers going green or going purple in different sectors, especially in qualifying. And that's what we mean. When the time screen comes on, you have the 3 different sectors. And if a guy goes green in a particular sector, that sector will light up as green. And green means that's his personal best time in that sector, so he's done a good sector. If he goes purple, he means he's the fastest of all. That means that sector's been the fastest of everyone else. So purple's really good. Green's good as well, because you're going good in comparison to yourself, but purple's the best. Now, to understand sectors and what we can draw from them, I need to show you a position. I need to show you a circuit map first, and I'm going to use the Chinese Grand Prix because that was the last race, so that might be fresh in your minds. So here is a map of the track. Now I'm not sure. Okay, if you might be able to see it, it's actually broken up to 3 sectors. You can see the first sector finishing here between turns 5 and 6, the second sector finishing here between turns 10 and 11, and the third sector finishing right here at the finishing line. So it's a clockwise track, goes around clockwise, and it finishes start-finish straight. It's right over there. Okay, so what is interesting about this? Now, you can look at, in most tracks, it's very unusual to have tracks which is very similar the whole way through. There are some tracks like Monte Carlo, Hungary. There's an equal amount of straights and corners in each sector, so you can't really tell strengths or weaknesses of each car. But most tracks aren't like this. So for example, in China, you can see this middle sector has this fast corners, turn 7 and 8, and fast turn 10. You can't really tell on the map, but trust me, I've driven it. So it's a very fast sector. So these are all fast corners here. So you need a car with good downforce. You don't really need a car with great grunt. You need a car that has good downforce with the wings to push it to the ground. That's what you need there. Now sector 3, you can see coming out of turn 12 and 13, yes, you need some downforce and you need some traction. But there has this massive long straight here, which tells us that, and this long straight here to the start-finish line, which tells us you need a car with a good engine, and more importantly, little drag, as little drag as possible. So any car that's quick through there, you know has a good engine for sure, but also, more importantly, has low drag. So you can tell what sort of wings people are running. If people are quick down a straight, you know they might be trimming out the wings, or they just have a very efficient car. So Shanghai is good for telling us these sort of things. And Sector 1's a kind of a mixture between the both, but it's neither here nor there, so we don't really look at Sector 1. It can be a bit confusing. So then let's look at the race. These are the race times from the Formula One race and in Shanghai. And what we could see here was Rosberg was quickest in Sector 3 with a 43.5 in the race. And the next quickest non-Mercedes AMG Petronas car was Vitaly Bottas with a 43.9. So you could tell that the AMG Petronas Mercedes was half a second quicker than anyone else, at least in that third sector. I mean, everyone, you know, you had the Red Bulls with a 44.1, 44.0. Ricardo was quickest with 44.0, so good half second slower than the Mercs in that last sectors. And we also have the speed lane, the high speed traps at the end of the back end of that back straight, and we know the Red Bulls were about 15k slower, so that equals to about half a second. So that's a lot of time to give up. Now let's look at the middle sector. The middle sector, actually, Rosberg was quickest. He was 2/10 quicker than the Red Bull Ricardo, but that was a bit of an unusual one because during qualifying and most of the practice in practice of 1, 2, and 3 on Friday and Saturday, the Red Bull was actually quicker than the Merc through that second sector. So that tells us that the Red Bull has plenty of downforce in that car, which means that when we get to a track like Barcelona, which is the next track, I'm quite sure that the Red Bulls will be a lot more competitive, because while there are straights at Barcelona, there is a higher percentage of corners to straights, and there's plenty of fast corners through there as well. So I think a car like the Red Bull will be very competitive compared to the Merc. Will it be quick enough to beat the Merc? Probably not, because I think the Merc is very quick. It's, you know, we saw in Shanghai, it still had the quickest Sector 2 time, only by a little bit, but still the quickest through that Sector 2, which you do need downforce. But it does tell us that the Red Bull will be a lot closer. Close enough to challenge for the win? I personally don't quite think so, but I think they'll be able to, you know, they won't be coming 20 seconds behind. They should be able to follow the Mercs very closely. However, we do have a 3-week break between the last race in Shanghai to Barcelona. So there's been plenty of time for teams to bring a lot of updates, and if Red Bull can bring better updates and more efficient updates than Mercedes, then maybe, just maybe, they might be able to close that gap enough that they can actually challenge for the win. And if Red Bull are serious about trying to take the title this year, they need to start doing it. The pressure is really on. If we see another Mercedes win and another dominant Mercedes win, it's going to be very difficult for any team to compete with them for the championship this year. Okay, so anyway, see you guys in the next race in Barcelona.